Aloha and welcome to Native Eyes Mana'o. I'm your host, Belinda, also known as Kalani. This is a space to share the voices of marginalized communities. In today's episode, we are going to be sitting down with Taʻimiroa, one of the co-founders of ʻAʻaliʻi Unschooling here in South Kona on the island of Mokuokeawe or Hawaiʻi Island. The future of education is Indigenous, so take a ride with us as we sit down and talk about these topics collectively on how we can make a difference in our home and create effective and lasting change within our community.
Aloha. I'm really excited to be talking with you. I know that we've already kind of had some conversation, but before I even start, do you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Taʻimiroa Pajimola. People call me Taʻimi for short. I'm a mother of 3 and farm, like all of us, a lot of different hats.
I've been following your content for a while, and I love to see what you're doing. I know you and your kane are running a school out here. When did you create ʻAʻaliʻi Unschooling, and what was the purpose and intention behind it?
So I guess the inspiration came from necessity, really. At the time in 2022, COVID was happening. I pulled out my children. Honua, at the time, she was going to Punana Leo. She was going for a year to the actual school, participating and going for Olelo classes, and then COVID happened and they started transitioning to online, and it was tricky for us to keep up. Maybe it was a trigger for my own childhood, having to sit for long periods of time and do school this way. She ended up graduating though. She puka'd from Punana Leo and we had the ceremony, but things were just very weird and very disconnected at the time with the whole COVID thing going on. And we started becoming really aware of the rights that were being taken away from us and from our kids in these public settings, which, were the way natural humans should live. We're stewards of an 18-acre farm here in Honalo. ʻAʻaliʻi Unschooling Academy, developed by one of my friends, Lealo Ha'au, and of course, with support from my other half, Honu Lafitaga. She does this school with me. She moved in to steward the homestead with us, and she has a 7-year-old daughter as well. The both of us started unschooling our children. Decided maybe we should bring in other families. Other families were on our Instagram and looking at some of the stuff that we are doing just with our own kids at home. At the same time, running our community trade market, the small shop in Kainaliu, and naturally meeting families that were there coming in to trade food, and they brought their kids and they're like, oh, you have children, what are your children doing, because of COVID? And we shared with them that, we're just on the farm and we do life skills, social emotional learning stuff, which we didn't call it that at the time, just doing deep breathing with our own children and only trying to lock them into a more natural rhythm, because we're able to steward land and farm in that way, because we live off grid and depend on the sun for our electricity and the rain for our water. It was just us easing into natural lifestyle pathways again, and naturally educating your kids at home came with that. And we're lucky because we're able to steward ʻAina. One of the things was just like why, more people don't do it. And I really believe it's the time. It's why we don't eat the food that we grow ourselves, because it takes time. We are forced into a different type of scheduling in the modern world and the matrix world. And the biggest thing that they've robbed from us is our time. And they've made us believe that time is not as valuable as it really is. But it's one of the most valuable things. You can't get it back, So that's where it started. And the intention grew out of necessity. We wanted to educate our kids in a different way. And we're sort of forced to because of COVID. And then naturally other families started inquiring about what we were doing. And we got 7 families to come up to the farm with us for 9 months, every Tuesday, weekly. I don't know if we ever thought that it would get to the point where now we've got like 24 families and 42 children, students that attend. That's what continues to inspire the mission of why we continue, is because our family has a need, and need is to also be able to do it together with more than just us and alone.
You're not trying to speak any negative about a particular school or anything like that, but from your experience, sometimes we think Hawaiian schooling, that things are going to be different and it's not going to be as tied to the system. Did you still see issues embedded in this format of education? Was this all kind of a catalyst for how you could implement a real Hawaiian foundation, not tied to the system.
Yeah. Well, I feel like a lot of the things that we've went through our lives and we're taught and have had to in our adult lives kind of naturally guided us towards this process as well. But that was our attempt at going back into the system, or to try to go into the system, and then being humbled and learning that, it just doesn't align with our morals anymore. We know too much, to be ignorant and to be blind to it. For instance, the only time that I've ever really had to fight my kids, keep them from something, was during that school. And no judgment on anybody, but like, this is the first time they were exposed to eating McDonald's. This is the first time that they were exposed to some of these things that we had no control over, it being in the environment of our kids. Of course, the other thing is they're still very much incorporated in the DOE system. I've heard a lot of parents complain about just like the standardized tests, things that we saw coming from a farmer's perspective, like the school lunch is not the best. It was these small things. And what was so beautiful, though, is that the teachers, right, just like you, they have the aloha in them, but it's the structure and it's the system that makes them conform to certain ways that are not natural to our people, that don't feel good, that don't resonate with us, especially when it comes to education. I'm blessed that we had the teachers that we had at the time, the kumus that we had at the time, because they were beautiful and awesome and they incorporated music and other things. But I still did see a lack and felt a lack and a need for more, just knowing better. It was like we took the red pill already. We couldn't go back. We couldn't be blind to what we knew to be true, and we've seen it. That's the hardest part, and I feel like that's the biggest part. That's, why we call it an unschooling program.
I really love how you did that and the name of that. Can you go into like the name?
Yeah.
Behind that?
We call it unschooling because the idea is that it's the entire family coming to deprogram and relearn. And the biggest thing that you're reprogramming as parents is your idea of what you think school should be, what you've been programmed to think that school should be, which is 8 hours sitting in front of a teacher. The school is in Honalo on Moku Keawe. It's here on Otsuka Farm, and the Otsuka family truly believes in the vision as well. They allowed us to steward this āina and utilize this space. It's multi-generational, so that means the whole family is required to come. It's place-based, so a lot of the things that we do are Hawaii related, lifestyle practice, and then regenerative lifestyle practice. The word regenerative, it basically means to renew one's life source or life force by natural means. So regenerative practices are practices that allow you to go up. When you talk about sustainable, sustain is to maintain, right? To keep at balance. A lot of times, a lot of our people, including ourselves, were in degeneration mode. So, fighting on the front lines, but it depleting our energy and our life source because the people that we were fighting against didn't care. You constantly are just showing us how they're intentionally trying to genocide us and destroy āina and land and future and opportunities for our people and for our children. We do have Hawaiian families that don't come from money and don't come from privilege, but they know the truth, and it's hard. It's not easy to hold that line. But amongst everything, this is our new front line. For a long time, our children were suffering with us trying to be activists on the front line of occupation and testifying, advocating for this and that in legislation and politics. And we are no longer to go backwards and try to force people who don't give a shit. We deserve to be seen. For so long as we've tried to do it from the outside in, create laws and force change upon the mass without avail, with no success, because the change has to come from within, from the masses. Each individual person can then affect a larger part of it. Like the younger generation, they're not fooled. They know. I see them, and they're just watching us as parents, as makua, and seeing whether or not we're going to continue on the same path. They're not stupid. We've watched our grandparents and our parents for so long. They know all of the corruption of the world. They're just like, are you guys going to continue that path? And so we're making option C for them, and hopefully they can trust us, but they got it. They're waiting for us to step up and show them, what way. And then in turn, they show us what way they want to go to. Here we're like immersed in āina. This school is outside. It's an outdoor environment school. We encourage the kids to play and play safely. All of the parents are here, so there's a lot of support, and then we learn a skill together.
Learning together.
Yeah.
Beautiful to see, because that's not like how our school system is at all. But back in the day, it was a community thing. Everybody had a role and we were all together collectively.
But that's a time thing that I'm talking about when they stole from us. It's like I'm not blind to the fact that a lot of the families are including ourselves, are very privileged to be able to do this with our children. Speaking only on ourselves, and it's not like we don't bust our asses. We probably work over 40 hours a week, but it's doing things that are regenerative, things that bring life into us and not things that deplete us, things that we choose to be doing and things that we can do with the entire family. The idea is that we are not taking the responsibility of education away from the parents. We don't allow kids to be dropped off. What we're doing is we're really giving back the responsibility to educate your own kids. We're giving it back, and also with support. So it's like if you are already choosing to educate your kids outside of the system or whatever way that looks, and that's really, the base of what unschooling is. It's living your life and allowing your children to live their life alongside you without having to prepare for the future. They're being present, learning. The idea is that this space is to support parents so that they, are comfortable and that they know that they're capable of educating their own child. The unschooling and the deprogramming and reprogramming of the whole idea of what schooling should be, and then support, from your hui and your people to let you know that you're not alone and that it's okay that you're doing it this way and that there's nothing wrong with it. The other thing is it's an added curriculum. So all of these families are also already homeschooling their own children or unschooling in some way or form. This is just to add to their curriculum that they've got. And the biggest thing too is to link all of these families who are on their own journeys towards self-discovery and self-determination and sovereignty. It's a way to connect all of these families so that they can be of service to each other as well in different ways.
What is the meaning behind Pua ʻAʻaliʻi?
Lealoha Ao is the one that helped to create that name. And the idea is that Pua ʻAʻaliʻi is a native bush, a native shrub found on Mauna Kea. This is the first year that we have a guidebook, which is super cool. Lealoha designed it. That's Pua ʻAʻaliʻi Unschooling Academy's logo.
And this is the flower.
Yeah, that's the ʻAʻaliʻi flower, and it was done by Kaʻainaniao Studios. Her name is Maria. Shout out Maria. She's amazing. She's an amazing logo and design developer. They thrive in really harsh environments, but it's because they're so resilient. And there's a lot of different olelo noʻeau behind the ʻAʻaliʻi itself. There's one that really resonates with us, and I feel like is a big part of the school and the name. The ʻAʻaliʻi bush is so resilient, and no matter how many times you push it down, it will shoot up again. The other thing is that because it's so resilient, the flowers that come off of it are its beauty and the fruits. And so I feel like the same with these children, these are the fruits of our resilience. This is the beauty that comes when you are so pa'a in your soil and you're so strong in what you believe in and you anchor down. We get these beautiful flowers. It's little but mighty.
I love that. The meaning behind the name. What makes you guys different? I know that there's things that you incorporate here, like you talked about Oli and the moons. Different people come and teaching different life skills.
We sync in with the Hawaiian moon calendar and the Chinese solar term. It's more for the parents so that they can align their activities of the day and know the resonance and maybe why things are aligning that way or things are happening with their keiki. There's, maybe an over amount of emotions or maybe there's, nothing. Dr. Craig Elovich and Kun Kun Dolma, who created Mama Food Forest and Happy School International Training. They work with Bhutan, and in Bhutan, instead of a gross national average, they determine the value and wealth of their economy and their country is dependent on gross national happiness, so the happiness of their people. And they create happy schools for their children. And so Lealoha is, being trained under that, and she pulls a lot of happy school curriculum training from that, which includes solar term, Chinese solar terms, and regenerative lifestyle practice and food forest stuff. So these are all of the things that kind of make us different from the regular. We're incorporating a lot of different indigenous practices and trying to help families sink into the natural rhythm of earth again. That's what I feel like we've been so drawn away from. This is where true learning comes back in. The flow for the day that we've set up was every Tuesday, all the families gather around 9:00 and we start in circle with deep breathing. So we have a bell that resonates at a certain hertz and everybody sinks in with the bell and does 3 deep breaths together. After that, we adapted a Oli from Kumu Pilahi Paki and Huna Mamalani Kalama, the aloha chant. So each of the words or each of the letters from aloha has a specific meaning. So akahai, kindness, to be expressed with the feeling of tenderness. Lokahi, unity, to be expressed with the feeling of harmony. Olu olu, agreeable, to be expressed with the feeling of pleasantness. Ha'aha'a, humility, to be expressed with the feeling of modesty. And ahunui, patience, to be applied with perseverance. So we have a chant that we do 3 times with the whole entire group to anchor in the resonance of aloha and each of these words and the meanings behind them, to set our intention for the day, to ground the kids, to ground the parents, to have them be present in aloha with us in this space. After that, we do inner weather check-ins. So each person, kid and parent, goes around the circle and shares what their inner weather is or what they're feeling. We call it inner weather because, like the weather, our emotions are constantly changing. It's easier sometimes for the kids to describe their emotion or what they're feeling as a color or as, the sun or the sky, a rainbow, whatever it is. This is a part of the curriculum that's like social emotional learning and intelligence. We want the kids to tap into their own emotions. We want them to not be afraid to share, to know that people care about what they're feeling, and to try their best to stay there and listen to everybody else's feelings, to be a person that can also hold other people's emotions and make other people feel important, that they're what they feel matters.
So much we can learn from our environment.
And the biggest skill that we've lost is, the power of observation. The phone, it takes away so much. Like, that is such an intense skill that we are slowly losing. That is so important. And that's what this space is really built for. You have to use all your senses to navigate the zone. The kids know how to jump and can develop ability and confidence and agility and coordination. It's all part of learning. These kids are super developed and they're so emotionally intelligent too. And that's what's beautiful. These families already know that they want to be on this sovereignty journey. And I feel that was the biggest thing for so long that we were butting heads with, is that we were trying so hard to pull people in that weren't ready or didn't choose it themselves already. If you don't choose it yourself, then there's nothing we can really do. But that's why, as like a gift, a reward for these families, because they chose that they're going to do things a different way, no matter how that looked. And who knows what this could turn into in the future. And we're always willing to keep learning.
I saw that one of the uncles that came teaching about the net.
Yeah.
Tell me a little about that.
So last year, Honu, me, and Lealoha were developing all of the curriculum on our own. This is where we're learning how the balance works, what the template really looks like. We were calling it upon ourselves to go and find professionals, teachers, craftsmen to bring into the school to teach them every Tuesday. And it just became, depleting for us. It became unsustainable. We couldn't do it that way because it was too much energy outside, and we weren't really even able to enjoy and be a part of, the program too. First, we had a woman, Angia Kuna, and she came in and she taught the kids how to make kaula from banana. She taught us how to make rope from banana fibers. Before, we had a lot of younger kids and their attention was quick. But my daughter was 7 going on 8 and needing more life skills and intensive skill building focus. She was wanting more at the time than I was able to give her. And that's also why it moved into this level. We started bringing in people. Angia taught us the kaula, and then after that, naturally, I was like, ropes can make nets. Like, I saw Uncle pull some of his stuff, and we reached out to him and his wife, Kona Town Hui, which is really cool. Ceramics, skill building. These are things that our kids are naturally adding into their curriculum, skill building stuff. He came out and I talked with him, and he really loved what we were doing. He taught us how to throw the net. We made the tools together. He started teaching us the weaving. At the same time, we were fundraising for this building. Pretty much all last year, we were under pop-up tents for our school. Just in like November, October, we finished the building of last year. The scheduling got a little mixed up, and Uncle started putting his art in display. He's trying to do natural dyeing with his fibers. So he's getting into his craft more, which is beautiful. So we had a little bit of lessons with him, and then we had to revamp. We closed for a month and a half in December and early January so that me and Lealoha could develop the curriculum, do the application process, have people really register so that next year we would be a little bit more prepared and a little bit more at capacity to be able to hold it and not feel like we're running ourselves thin in any way. Finding and keeping the balance is the biggest thing. If our family and at home isn't at balance, then we're not able to give to the community properly. It's not going to be valuable stuff.
Right. But these skills are so important. Like, I mean, we still see so many uncles, out there throwing net. It's like, it's so important for our kids to know and to do because, like it's still practiced today, but it's not as practiced as, as it was.
And he's totally, I mean, I know he's busy, but I know that he does for the people that are committed. He's willing to work with people. So just gotta go check him out. It's old school. You gotta go talk to him face to face. Last year it was so cool. Our kids got to do so many cool things. But when we developed the curriculum, we're like, okay, now each family, we started giving them responsibilities because we don't charge for the kids to come to school, for the parents to come to school for the space. But we do have an exchange that we require. Each parent and each family has to offer a skilled building class in rotation with other families. So this year we've developed curriculum per quarter and with our own, regenerative goals. On the application process, we had families write like what their skill is, what they would need to help to conduct a class. And according to that information, we plug them into the schedule that fit the larger curriculum. But this is the first time we've had curriculum before. It says, Aloha nui, we are so grateful to meet together here at ʻAʻaliʻi Unschooling Academy. Each ohana committed to educating their own children has the unique opportunity to learn a multitude of regenerative, subsistence, place-based life skills as a hui in a safe, private, outdoor environment. Our goals are to build each parent's confidence in their own ability to educate their own children, to be a resource that may be added to homeschooling, unschooling curricula, and to connect families on their own paths to self-determination, self-discovery, and sovereignty. Our hope is that each child attending ʻAʻaliʻi Unschooling Academy has the opportunity to find their true passion, career interest, or craft, and may be aligned with a master teacher to learn from traditionally. The kids aren't going to know what they want to do. Some kids do, but the idea is that we give them a little taste of all of the different life skills, and whatever sparks their passion and their interest is what they can pursue. And if they need to, if we have the person that is the master craftsman, we can align them and they can learn apprentice style. That's our biggest goal. That's something that I would have loved growing up, but more people know more things and have more resources to pull from, more knowledge.
And this is the next generation.
Yeah.
It's really exciting to see.
I'm so proud of all of the families, and we wouldn't have been able to do it by ourselves. I felt like the biggest thing when we were homeschooling and teaching our kids alone is like, I just felt there wasn't enough as a parent. My kids want more, and I feel like I can't give that to them as far as time, energy, and knowledge.
Community.
True. That's the other thing, too, is the social aspect for the homeschoolers.
I also want them to be around kids.
Totally.
And how do you do both? Because time, right? You have to make money. There's all these layers to it.
Yeah, we don't have time to just hang out. That was the big thing for us, too, is the social aspect. And for a lot of the parents that are already homeschooling is the social aspect. Right. And then to be in community. These parents are now meeting each other, and they're able to work with each other outside of school and on other levels and support each other and pool resources and
feel a part of it, because then they get to focus on their own skill.
Yeah.
They grow and learn together with their keiki, which is just a really beautiful.
That's the biggest part, because the parents can continue to guide them through the week if that's what they're interested in. And that's the biggest thing, too, with the unschooling thing. It's really paying attention, using your observation skills and noticing if your child has an interest or an ability, and to try your best to pull resources to guide and to help encourage. The oldest kid that we have is 16. We haven't had any kids that are older. This year, we just opened up another day for our 7 and olders, because my daughter and Lealoha's daughter are getting older. They need more skill building intensive, something away from the younger kids that they can really focus and start mastering their skills. Every Wednesday, we are doing Hui Ho'opio, which is our 7 and olders come together and they can get dropped off by their parents. Me and Lealoha hold the space in the morning and do the same thing with the kids. Aloha resonance, deep breaths, inner weather check-ins, and prepare them for music class that we have with Maka Gallinger, which is a music artist based out of South Kona here. And then they have a a knitting class with Mariah. Those are the only 2 classes that we have capacity for right now. So they spend an hour in each of these classes, really focused with a teacher that's teaching them more intimately. As we grow and as more kids come into the mix, then we'll see how it will function. Some of the older kids, we just want them to be able to master all of the things that we've set so far, which is deep breathing, moon calendar, and all of these things, so that they can be good leaders for the young kids when they come in on Tuesdays. The older kids, we're asking them to think about when you're not doing chores, when you're not on your phone, when you're just sitting alone with yourself, what are some things that are you truly interested in? What are your true passions? So we're having them think about that. And then eventually we will either help facilitate whatever passion that is, or if they already have an idea of what they want to do, we want to start helping teach things for the younger ones too, putting them in other leadership and teacher roles, which they're just naturally inclined to do. The kids love them. The little ones love the older kids. And so it's just so much easier
for it too. Yeah.
They need to. We're preparing them to be adults. They're going to have to take these roles. A lot of emotional intelligence and a lot of love and care. Go forever.
No, like this style of education is, is super beneficial. Do you feel that this style helps to address intergenerational issues and trauma of Kanaka Maoli? If so, in what ways?
Yes and no. I think it is very beneficial because after you start your healing process, you feel like there's an option, like another opportunity. But honestly, I feel like if you're an unhealed Kanaka, like before you start, it's very threatening. It can feel very painful. And I feel like that's a lot of the things that we dealt with just going through the path that we went through. It's hard. A lot of Kanaka, they're like, why do you think you can do it that way if we didn't ever have the choice to do it that way? And then after they're able to, or the other thing is they're seeing a lot of white faces, and that can be very triggering. They're like, why did these guys get the privilege to be able to learn like this? Why are there not more Hawaiians in your school? And I'm like, well, these are the people that are making the choice, and that's the biggest thing. But once families do heal and they're able to step in, then they feel so much love. And they're like, this is where I belong. This is not looking at skin color or race. This feels right.
And how have you seen the Keiki benefit from this environment?
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. There's actually one, I'm not going to mention her name. She'll be so mad. But there's one 16-year-old girl who in the beginning, it took her maybe 3 or 2 classes to warm up. But before, she wasn't trying to share her feelings. She was like, no, you can skip me, come back around. I don't want to share. But the 3rd time, she did it so naturally, and I almost cried. I was just so happy just to see them be able to be true humans, no expectation, no judgment, just be in an environment of pure learning and experimentation and very positively too. That's why I love it with all the families. A lot of us have same values. A lot of us know a lot of this deep, dark things, and we're advocating for a better future for our own children. So in that way, I do feel supported with the other families that are there to help watch my kid experience. They can scold them if they need to, and I trust that they're going to do it in a pono way and not, a traumatizing way.
Well, we've just seen how āina can just heal. It's super healing, and there's so much medicinal medicine.
It's more for the parents, the kids are so natural.
Right.
They were born for this life.
Yeah.
We're just not destroying them is what we're not doing. We're not destroying their purity and their innocence and their imagination. But my daughter, I'm telling you, she can still play full on imagining. And I'm so proud of that. It's so beautiful.
It starts to get more and more diminished when you're in a modern education, because you got to be there for X amount of time. You got to face this way. You got to walk in a straight line. So it's already stripping your imagination, and you got to conform to this belief system. Don't ask questions. All these things
brings life back into the kids. It allows them to be themselves. And for the parents, it teaches us so much. And we relive our childhood through them. We all get to relive our idea of what education was supposed to be for us. The kids are so natural. We're not teaching them anything. They're teaching us everything. They are.
Growing were there any belief system you've had to unlearn as an adult?
All of it. Now, pretty much everything. The biggest thing is time.
So the biggest one that you've had to unlearn was time.
Yeah.
Not being like a social construct and having to conform to.
Totally. And schedules and then just even trying to keep up with certain things, just with the work thing, right? It's not natural for us to split up as families during the whole day. So many things that are unnatural, but the biggest thing is them constructing time in this Gregorian calendar where we're missing a whole month. They've manipulated us in that way. That's the biggest thing that relearned, is just how to balance and manage my time and how valuable it is.
Time isn't even like a real thing.
It's not.
Yeah. So like I know there's like all different types of calendars.
Yeah.
You know, the turtle shell calendar, which
Mm-hmm.
I had learned a few years ago about like the 13 different months, and then that came from the Native American culture, and then starting learning about other cultures with like the same concept but like a different name attached.
Yeah.
This calendar that we're tied to, it's not connected to the natural rhythms and flows, and it's no wonder that we don't succeed. I had watched this video, and he had talked about this 12-month calendar, and even just like the times and stuff, how the frequency of it vibrates at an unnatural hertz where we don't succeed. It
locks us into a dimensional frequency that is very low.
Yeah.
And
we're just like
slave-like.
Yeah, exactly.
It allows the energy to be drawn and sucked away from us and put into and to power this.
Right. And why we have so depressed people. But I think even like with Native and Indigenous people, especially because it's doing something that our DNA was not built to do. And having to follow the system when deep down it doesn't resonate or feel right, but then still having to get money and provide and do all these things, it's a really big struggle and like ongoing.
I will share that like just in our own family's experience, when I did try to homeschool my daughter under the curriculum of the DOE system, which you should be reading by 5 years old, I was really failing at that, and she wasn't thriving at that, and I felt like I was forcing it upon her, and she ended up hating it. And same with my son. They ended up hating the paper and the pen, and they didn't want to read. They don't want to do it. That's the structure. They're creating slaves. They are trying to force feed us when we start in our creative state. I still have my own judgment on myself, but this is what I'm reprogramming and deprogramming, is my idea of when my child should be able to read. And now naturally, my daughter's 8 years old and she wants to. She's interested. I don't have to force. And that feels so good. And now we're learning through the happy schools and the Bhutan training, and Montessori does it too. It's the age that you should be reading is 8+, 7+. That's when you should start getting into that stuff. But they've distorted our idea of what the expectation for our children should be, quite literally killing them. They don't feel like they're good enough. Why are our children at freaking 10, 11 feeling suicide? Why? That doesn't make sense.
Part of me having to like a label because they don't meet these expectations, which is something that I really struggle with. We're just like handing out these labels. Oh, you have a learning disability because you can't.
That's what I mean. Telling them there's something wrong with them. And then us wondering why they're so depressed and not wanting to be on earth anymore. It's so painful. I just feel even at the deepest core, this is the most beneficial thing you could do for your family. Going inside, finding your truth, finding out, what works best for your own family, because not everyone's family is the same. We allow space for people's flow. We don't require people to come every week, and there's no attendance. There's expectations of when you come, you bring food. You feed your people, you make sure that we're nourishing each other's bodies with healthy, organic ʻAʻina food, ʻAʻina-based meaʻai. These are all of the things in small ways and big ways we incorporate into the school for that purpose. We can just cut the bullshit and get straight to living our truest authentic life as best as we can.
I'd love to see how, when you're in the community, you guys have taken a step back from that and have created the way it's naturally supposed to be, and you're showing that it can be done. And I think a lot of, especially, single parents too, is like, they feel like they can't do this, right? They can't do it on their own, and they don't know how to do it. In what ways can local communities leverage unschooling to provide an alternative but equally valuable education, especially with Native and Indigenous populations?
I feel like it's just really up to the individuals. This can be recreated anywhere, and it's just in these small little ways that it will change the outer. It's you taking your power back. This can definitely be recreated and applied, and you just have to adjust it to your space and your place. And that's the biggest thing. People need to know that it's not impossible. And if you do step out of the system in these ways, that you will be okay. This is why the market is so closely interconnected with the school, because we recognize that you can't just step out if you don't have the resources. The purpose for the market is so you can create resources and value outside of the system in order to save time to be able to do these things,
Go into a little bit more about this market.
The Honalo Community Kuakuai Market is located here at Otsuka Farms, and we operate that on every Friday weekly from 11:11 to 3:33. It's a space for community trade. We provide the bulk of the vegetables and fruits that are here, and then the community comes through with the rest of it, and it's really impressive.
Parents are involved in this too.
So just naturally, because we do this school and people are trying their best to educate their children in a more sovereign way, they utilize the market to leverage that so that they can make it possible, so that they don't have to work as much, so they can spend that Tuesday with us and then come and get groceries at the end of the week and still be able to feed their families. I envision the market to be a space eventually where there are like master craftsmen here working and having like indigenous economy. People are creating, building, working, and then our kids can naturally go to the craftsmen at the market and be like, hey, can I sit with you? And then this, that being connected to the school for the ages that are older, for the teens. It's a either or. Either you come to the market and you have kids and you're like, yeah, this is helping me, trade and promote my sovereignty in that way. And then you get, word about the school and naturally come into the school in that way. Or you start at the school and naturally you start coming to the market because it helps.
Yeah.
It helps to substitute.
Right.
It helps to make it possible.
Looking ahead, what is your vision? I mean, you talked a little bit about, this idea of the craftsmanship and stuff. What is your vision for the future of education in Hawaii, especially within our community?
I really hope that everyone, is able to adapt this. I don't see much hope for public education. Really don't. Honestly, any education that's connected to the Department of Education of the state of Hawaii, they're promoting genocide and they're promoting enslavement of our children.
Last night I was up late learning the history of schooling. Like comes from Prussia, which is like pre-Germany. I don't even know the origin of what I'm doing. So many of us don't know the origin of our career. There's like career.
Yeah.
People like, oh, I want to do this because I want to help the community. But what was it built
originally?
Yeah.
All system jobs. You need to question them all. Like all of them. Yeah. That's what I mean when I say that we learn these things and we cannot go backwards on what we learn. Like we took the red pill. We learned about all of these things. So there's no way that we can do things that's not in line with the truth of what we've learned already. Otherwise, we're going to just kill our own soul and make ourselves depressed because we're doing it to our kids and we know better. Yeah. So that's where, it's where we had to draw the line. It became in conflict with our own soul and our own truth. And so we're like, we can either continue to do this and be hypocrites because we know it and we're subjecting our children to it and ourselves, or let's just be fearless and step out on this path. It's not one that hasn't been walked before. It's just a little overgrown, and we're great at cleaning ʻAina. We can restore this path, and each person that comes through does a little bit more work. We just came through with the machete. The next person's coming, like my Kane and these next families came through with the weed whacker. These next families are going to come through and detail clean the space. The next ones are going to come and put stones. The path is going to be very clear by the end. It just looks a little overgrown, a little bit bushy right now, but it doesn't mean it's not there. Our kupuna set a very great foundation for us, just like all of these stone walls everywhere, just like all of the heiau, it's set. It's just us uncovering it again and seeing how it works with our own family's alignment and flow. It's a personal journey. It's each person's individual choice. I can only speak on the individual, and if each individual is able to make the choice, then the collective is going to be just fine. I hope it grows and that our capacity can grow and that people can hold the resonance so that we won't be the only ones that are doing it, and continue to stay humble while doing it. We've had county council members come through and throw money at us, and it's not about that. If money is what it took, people would have did it already. It's for integrity.
So this kind of leads into our last question. I know you're currently at full capacity, which congratulations, by the way. if others wanted to connect, follow you, and maybe enroll their kids in the future, where can they find you?
Yeah, mahalo. So we have an Instagram, ʻAʻaliʻi Unschooling Academy on Instagram, and that's where you can follow. I have a waiting list kind of going right now of people who are interested in joining and enrolling. So you can email me at Taʻimiroa Pajimola @gmail, and that's just my name.
Spell it.
I'll spell it. So it's TAIMIROAPAJIMOLA @gmail.com. You can just write me a simple email saying that you're interested in joining the ʻAʻaliʻi Unschooling Academy, your name, and how many children that you have.
We spoke a little bit prior, and I got to know more of your personal story and your personal journey. Very, very similar, like-minded. I love what you and your Kalani are doing. It's like really important work that needs to be done, especially here in Hawaii. Was there anything that you wanted to, I don't know, say, or anything that we didn't cover in conversation?
I just hope that we inspire people to know that it's possible. You can go to town easily. Are you going to choose to eat from your land or not? The choice is a lot harder. All you need to know is that it's possible, and then to start to implement, if you can, whatever capacity you can in your own home and in your own place. That's how it will be the biggest help.
Yes.
That's all. Mahalo. Thank you so much.
Thank you.